Bullying's never going away. Here's a big wham, right hook reality for you. Bullying's never going away. Whoa, man, you talk about bully proof all the time. What do you mean it's never going away? It's not. Bullying's been around since the first two brothers walked the face of the earth. Who are they? Cain and Abel. That didn't end very well for either one of them. And if you don't know the story, Cain and Abel were the sons of Adam and Eve. Cain was the older brother, Abel was the younger brother. Cain was extremely jealous, which leads to most bullying in real life. Jealousy, envy, then jealousy turns to hate, turns to rage, and then bad things happen. Well, Cain was very angry, Cain wasn't didn't have a lot of self-respect either for himself, and it showed, talk about in the Bible, for his work. He didn't put in his absolute very best, and it showed his offerings to God. When Abel, his younger brother, took great pride, had great respect in who he was and what he presented. Well, the story goes, one day, presenting their offerings, Cain presented his, Abel presented his. God didn't care for Cain's offering, and Cain offered a calf for the slaughter, and it wasn't his finest choice. Abel gave God his best crop, best harvest, and God was pleased. Once again, back to Cain. What he did was, he was angry, he was envious, he was jealous. One, because he didn't respect himself very much. He ended up killing Abel. And then Cain spends a whole life of misery and torture. So that's when I say bullying is never stopping. You got a little Bible lesson there to go along with it. But just to show you, it's been around since the first two brothers walked the face of the earth. And Cain and Abel didn't have social media. They didn't have cell phones. And the bullying that goes on cell phones, on social media, oh my gosh, it's far worse than when I was a kid on the playground or in the lunchroom or in the locker room. So it's never going away. So I don't want you to get all depressed and say, well, dude, what are you talking about with this video? Well, what I'm telling you is we need to equip our kids, ourselves, with the tools to become what I call bully proof and develop that warrior confidence. And what is that warrior confidence? What is that bully proof armor? That bully proof armor starts with what I like to call the ABCs to become bully proof. The A is awareness and avoidance of dangerous situations, of negative thoughts, of negative responses, of negative people. We got to be aware of it. It's out there and avoid it. Doesn't mean we run from our troubles, but why in the world would you would never dump poison in your drink. No, but oftentimes we allow poisonous thoughts to enter our mind. We allow poisonous people who, here's the thing, hurt people hurt others. Jealous people try and steal other people's joy because they're hurt themselves. Am I trying to say you should feel sorry for the bully? Well, if that helps a little bit to put it in perspective, they're hurt. That's why they're trying to hurt someone else. Don't let that someone else be you. Don't let that someone else be your kids. So A, awareness, avoidance of the negativity out there, of dangerous people, dangerous situations, negative thoughts. Avoid that nonsense. Get rid of it. B, believe in yourself with your bully-proof armor. Put on your armor of God, your bully-proof armor. I believe in me. And the example I like to give all the time is you would never, ever go out in public without clothes on. You wouldn't do it. Why? Well, it's not socially acceptable, number one. And number two, it's, what the heck? Well, I'm telling you that to paint a picture, not about going out without clothes on, but to paint a picture of you're not going out in public without your clothes on. I don't want you going out in public without your bulletproof armor on. Your bulletproof armor is like a Teflon shield. It blocks out all the negative arrows, protecting the two most vulnerable parts, your heart and your mind, which are the areas that the bullies attack the most. Our two weakest areas, our most vulnerable areas, our heart and our mind. It's wonderful, it's beautiful to have a big heart. It's wonderful, beautiful to have a big mind, but oftentimes they're vulnerable, and that's the areas bullies attack. So we gotta have that bulletproof armor on. And how do you strengthen that bulletproof armor? It's nothing from the outside world. It starts from the inside out. That's how you strengthen it. That's how you protect your heart and your mind. One, positive affirmations, believing in yourself. Telling yourself how wonderful, how special, how awesome you really are, and reminding yourself of that. Because if you don't, I promise, one of two things is going to happen. One of two things are going to fill your heart and fill your mind. It's either going to be positive or negative. And unfortunately, we live in a world that is fixated on negativity. It seems like everything we read, everything we see, everything we hear, negative, 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 negative. I call the news, the mainstream media, the devil's workshop. Because what is their primary goal? To scare you to death. To bully your mind, to bully your heart. Because when you're bullied, you feel weak, you feel defeated, you feel down. You're vulnerable now. Start developing that victim mindset. No, strengthen that bulletproof armor. And a lot of that starts with the way you walk around, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk about yourself, the way you think about yourself. Look in that mirror. Tell, I am somebody. I am special. You doggone right you are. That's positive affirmations. That's believing in yourself. Because unfortunately, the meanest, nastiest bully we'll ever face is the one we see in the mirror and hear in our mind. That bully chews on all the negativity that someone else told us back in third grade. Said we're too short or too slow or too fat too dumb. Get that stuff out of your mind. And the only way to get it out, you have to dig it up. I do a little project, a little worksheet called Weeds, Seeds, and Trees. Weeds, you can just take a piece of paper, write at the top, weeds, and get the thoughts, the negative thoughts out of your mind. Right on there, I am dumb. Look at it. I ain't dumb. Cross that off. I am stupid. I ain't stupid. Cross that off. I am fat. I ain't fat. Cross that off. I'm worthless. I ain't worthless. Cross that off. List every possible thing you can think of that's a negative thought in your mind that maybe someone said to you. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was on social media. Maybe it's 20 years ago. Get it out of here. Cross it out. Next step, write seeds at the top of a piece of paper and write all the positive seeds you want to plant in your mental garden. I am somebody. You doggone right I am. I am special. You doggone right I'm special. I'm priceless. And somebody say, well, that's awful arrogant. Look, you're telling your mind who you are and who you want to become. The opposite is, I'm worthless, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, nobody likes me. Come on, one of two things, it's going to take up the space, positive or negative. It's your choice. And then the trees on that is, the trees, right, trees, I want you to write down your previous successes. Anything you've succeeded on. I passed third grade. Yes. I graduated high school. Yes. I got a new job. I got a car. I got a house. I'm on my own. I got wonderful family. I got wonderful kids. I got a wonderful spouse. Whatever. Success. Write it down. Why? Because the more you see the successes, the more you're going to think, dang, I did that. Maybe I am special. You doggone right you are. But oftentimes we forget about our successes because we get so wrapped up in the negativity. And back to the beginning of this video, bullying's never going away. Why? Because it's been going on since Cain and Abel. And once again, they didn't have social media. They didn't have all the negative influences that we have. But we can do something about it. We have to empower ourselves, our kids, our families with that hope, belief, and self-confidence. So quick review. The A, awareness, negativity, avoid, get rid of it. B, believe in yourself with a bulletproof armor. C, communicate clearly and confidently with your posture, with your actions, with your words. And what I mean by that, here's a drill I always challenge people to do. Put your shoulders down, your head down. Does that feel very powerful? Feel very strong? Heck, no, it doesn't. It's a defeated posture. Mentally, you feel defeated. Physically, you feel defeated. Spiritually, emotionally, you feel defeated. If you feel defeated, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, you're going to be an easy target. However, roll your shoulders back, have your head up. Woo, baby. Walk around with a sense of purpose. That's courageous. That's confident. That's communicating clearly who you are. And another thing, when your chest is back, you're expanding your lungs. You can breathe. You're not you're compromising your lungs. You're squishing them. When your lungs are compromised, your lungs are squished, you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain or your extremities, so you feel weak and defeated. You feel strong and empowered. Now, I'm not saying you gotta walk around like, yeah, you want some of this? That's a little over the top. But I am saying, have those shoulders back. And I promise, start making eye contact with people you pass on the street. Start saying hi to people on the street. That's confidence. Smile. That's confidence. Look, the more you do it, the more it's going to come natural to you. And talked before about perseverance muscles and give up and quit muscles. Whichever muscles you work the most are the ones that are going to dominate your life. You work those perseverance muscles, battle through to continue doing and battling and not giving up. Before you know it's going to get easier and easier. However, you work on those give up and quit muscles, before you know it, you get up and quit. Same thing. Walking around like this all the time, defeated, it's going to come natural. However, you walk around like this all the time, you work on smiling, focusing, saying hi to strangers, making eye contact. I mean, here's a challenge for you. I challenge you, next time you're out in public, see how many people you can make eye contact with. Now, I'm not saying, give them, stare them down with daggers, but just smile with your head up and look. I was out at Busch Gardens not too long with my family, and I did this. The whole day, I probably made eye contact. Well, I tried. Once again, I'm not staring anybody down, but I'm just looking. It was probably a handful. And then a smile. And the people were looking, I gave them a smile, I gave a smile back. Whoa, I was like, all right, felt pretty good. That is the C. Communicate clearly and confidently with your posture, with your words, with your actions. Is there a D? People say, yeah, there is a D. The D is defend yourself with the ABCs. Be aware of what's going on around you and avoid negative people, negative circumstances, negative situations, negative thoughts, negative words, negative actions. Be aware of that nonsense and avoid it. B, believe in yourself with your bulletproof armor. Yes, you don't go out in public without clothes on. Don't go out in public without your bulletproof armor on. C, communicate clearly and confidently. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you express yourself, the smiles, the eye focus, the eye contact. And then, once again, it's kind of a wash, rinse, repeat. You continue to cycle all through them, right? That's the D, defend yourself with the ABCs. Now the D is also, if someone physically puts their hands on you, it's no longer bullying. It is now assault and battery. They have assaulted your body, and that is a crime. And by law, you have the right to physically defend yourself with, listen up now, enough force to stop the attack. And I'm not saying you beat the daylights out of them. They put their hands on you and physically, thing I teach, and we can get into this more in another video, is the palm strike, right to the solar plexus. Bang! It's an open hand technique. It's completely defenseless. Your hands are open. You're trying to defuse the situation. But you have now defended yourself successfully. That's the ABC. And D, becoming bully-proof, of empowering yourself with a bully-proof armor, of developing that warrior confidence. So back to the initial point. Bullying's never going away. So we need to prepare ourselves and our kids mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally for the bullies that are out there in the world. And if we do that, then we can stop the bullying in our own lives. And then what can we do? Once we become a hero in our own lives, now we can take the gifts, take the knowledge, take the tools that we've learned, and now be a hero in somebody else's life. That is how we'll stop bullying from happening to us, to others. And it's just like, I was like talking about the ripple effect. You throw a pebble in the pond, ripples. What happens? Another person throws a pebble in the pond, ripples. The more ripples we start having going into that pond, they start spreading. Before we know it, kind of the ultimate goal is making society a happier, healthier, and safer place to live. Is bullying never going away? Probably not. But can we defeat it? Absolutely. You gotta believe in yourself. You're special. You're unique. You're 1 in 8 billion on this planet. You've got a unique God-given gift that no one else possesses. But that gift doesn't matter if you don't believe in yourself. So get out there, work on those perseverance muscles, work with the ABCs to become bully-proof, believe in yourself, pass this on to somebody who could benefit from this message. I promise you're going to be your very best, and you're going to live, or I'd say your best kick in life. God bless everybody.